Board of Police Commissioners meeting open session to order. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the December 10th, 2019 meeting. Could I get a motion to approve those? Micah, thank you. Seconder Doug. On the motion, is there any questions? Any issues arising from the agenda? There being none on the question, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Item number 3 is the adoption of the agenda of January 14, 2020. The one addition to the agenda would be the letter that we received this morning from Mayor Darling regarding the budgetary adjustment to the St. John Police Force. Could I add that to item 8.12? And could I get, with that addition, a motion to adopt the agenda for this evening's open session? Moved by Doug, seconded by Mike. Thank you. On the motion, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Disclosure of conflict of interest. If any members have any conflict of interest on any items on the agenda, please disclose them now. There being none, we'll move to item number 5, the consent agenda, and there's nothing on the consent agenda. Item 6, there's no delegations or presentations this evening. There would be nothing under item 7. So we're moving to general correspondence and items under item number 8. Chief, item 8.01, the internal monthly report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the month of December, there was 1 complaint received, complimentary correspondence 3, and there's no grievances. Recommendations received and filed.
Mr. Chair?
Doug?
Just a question for the chief through you. Just looking at the 2019 grievances at year end, quite a bit higher than the previous years. Can you just shed some light on what might have happened or driven some of that?
Yeah, so during the course of any given year, there may be grievances to do around obviously around the collective agreement. I believe 3, if not 4, of the 8 grievances that were received in 2019 were withdrawn by the association before they went to arbitration, and out of that, there's the grievances remaining are at the arbitration stage.
So typical trend then after this.
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further on 8.01? Then I'll ask for motion to approve 8.01. Mike, thank you. Seconded, Micah.
Question is motion to approve or receive?
Motion to receive. Thank you. Yes, receive and file. On the motion to receive and file, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Item number 8.02 is a letter from the chief regarding the looks like the St. John Board of Police Commissioners budget November 2019 financial results. Is there? I'll ask for a motion to receive and file this item. Doug, thank you. Micah, seconder. On the motion.
Just a question from us before. I just wanted to express some appreciation to Marvin and the team. The variance analysis has really been fleshed out well and easy to understand. So thanks for that. And when I got to it and had some questions, it was all right there in front of me. So thank you for that.
And there's nothing out of the ordinary on the budget for the results for November?
No, we're just in the starting what we call the year-end process, Mr. Chair, and obviously looking at getting all the invoices and other charges in from vendors to close out the year.
Okay.
And that's still ongoing for the next few weeks.
Thank you. Anything further on that item 8.02? I'll call for the question then. On the question to receive and file 8.02, all those in favor, aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Item 8.03 just is a email that we received from the Canadian Association of Police Governance regarding our membership in that organization. I believe the St. John Board of Police Commissioners has been a member of the organization for a number of years. Is that correct, Daphne? Yep. And so the membership renewal is $1,152 for the year. What's the wishes of the board regarding the membership in that association? I can speak from past experience, but that's quite a few years ago now. Go ahead, Doug.
This is more from a philosophical level than anything else, but the value of that membership is to learn and take the opportunity to be educated around governance issues related to police forces. Now, mind you, I've only been here for 15, 16 months. I don't have the history that some of you may have had, but we haven't been focused on education on that yet. There's been a lot of change going on in the last little while. Maybe it's something that we need to consider at a future board meeting, what we are going to do around governance and education training, what would be appropriate for a commission of our size or board of our size.
I think that's a fair comment. One of the things that obviously we've been that has been sent to us is the letter that we deal with later on, dealing with the financial realities that the city's in and how the impact it's going to have on the police department. There may be something in that organization that would be worthwhile to look into. So maybe until we do that, and maybe we can do that over the next few weeks, and just move this to the next month's meeting for consideration to see what kind of value they would have, in that circumstance. Unfortunately, a big part of it is you have to go to their annual conference, which incurs quite a cost, and it's never held out in Eastern Canada. It's usually Ontario West. So why don't we look into what options they have, what their agenda is, what their program is vis-a-vis some of the opportunities that might exist for governance, for financial management, things like that, and so we can move this to the next month's meeting to explore that.
I think I'd agree with that, because it's I think we're going to be in a position really soon where we have to determine nice to have versus need to have.
Yep.
And this might be one of those items that becomes a discretionary expenditure that under fiscal constraint that we just every $1,000 adds up. So
Okay.
if we defer it.
So could we have a motion to defer this to next month's meeting? Moved by Mike, seconded by Mike. On the motion, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, nay. Motion carried. 8.04 is the updated St. John Police Force and PSCC 2020 operating budget. Chief.
Any questions at all that the board may have, we're here to answer, or Mr. Prescott?
So this came from this was the budget as prepared by the force, submitted to the city, approved by the city for 2020. Is that correct,
That's
Chief?
correct, yeah, Mr. Chair.
And we had reviewed this before and
Yes.
recommended a couple changes, which are noted in the cover letter,
So
based on historical.
this was all done now before, we knew that there were cuts coming for a while. We just didn't know exactly what they were going to be. But now that we have clarity of direction, what's the best approach? Like, do we need to adjust the operating budget for next year, or because this is around 2021, but what's...
The letter that we're going to receive and go through in a few minutes,
Kinda
that's
got
for 2021. This budget for 2020 has already been approved by the city, so there won't be any changes to that. The question, and we'll be referring, I assume, the letter from the mayor and council to the chief to begin the process of identifying the reduction in the budget that's expected for 2021. So vis-a-vis the item 8.04 before you, that's been approved by the city. Obviously, as the force goes through the process of preparing its budget for 2021 based on the anticipated or expected reduction or announced reduction of 1.175 million, they're going to be faced with having to deal with that issue.
Yeah. So this is the budget we have to spend in 2020, but we obviously don't want to equalize those amounts over the 12 months and have a December budget where we go into January where our budget's going to be lower and we have to have significant cuts to make it work. So
we're going to know well in
we've got to put some
advance.
strategy in place to work it out so that we move into January in a lower budget.
Well, I guess that's my point, is that the the chief and the commission did a good job. They were down quite a bit from budget this year, and to Mike's comment that you can't just do nothing till the end of the year. So I guess the budget's the budget, let's approve it, but I guess we'd be looking for
Well, there may
the
be-
chief or administration in general to come back and say, what are the action plans are going to,
Strategies, yeah.
what strategies do we have to employ in 2020 to be ready for 2021? So.
And
Yep.
that may revolve depending on what, or may involve depending on what the chief comes back. There may be vacancies that aren't going to be filled, but that's something that the department and the chief will come back and advise us on. But your point's well taken. You can't go to December 31st without preparing, expecting on January 1, you're going to have a discussion as to where the 1.175 million is going to come from. It's going to
Okay.
come from the chief and his staff and sitting down and figuring it out as they go through.
So on that basis, I'd be prepared to move forward.
Okay, so moved by Doug,
Yep.
seconded by Micah, on the motion to receive and file 8.04. All those in favor, aye. Contrary minded, nay. Motion
Yeah.
I
carried.
think we need an approval
Yeah.
on that one.
Because we haven't approved our budget yet, because last
Okay.
time we sent it back with changes, so if we're good
That's
with it
true.
now, that
You're
would be the
correct.
point
You're
to
correct.
approve it.
We did ask for changes. So the motion will be to approve 8.04, the St. John Police Force and PSCC 2020 operating budget. On that motion, moved by Doug, seconded by Mike. Micah, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, nay. Motion carried. 8.05 is the overview of the St. John Police Force November 19 financial results. Is there any questions on that item? If there are, through the chief to Marvin Corscad. That also includes the revenue received from,
That's a new item that's been added,
yes.
just to like show the board where we are generating revenue.
So we've generated year-to-date at the end of November, $565,000
Yes.
through the items categorized there: prisoner lodging, accident reports, secondments, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
The biggest item being other revenue, extra duty, and secondments year-to-date.
And just if I could highlight one thing, when we talk about other revenues, and it says extra duty, that's not all extra duty.
Okay?
Often we'll do a joint operations where we can get monies back from other partners. to cover
RCP or?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and B.
Yeah.
So it's a number of different things, but I just wanted to highlight that. And the other thing is by sharing this other piece of our sort of financial model, we often talk about the expense section, but we don't talk about where we're generating revenue to offset our expenses. I think that's an important
No.
piece to be brought forward to the board.
Yep. And the page 2 of that report shows that we're actually ahead of budget in the actual revenue
That's
received
correct,
by,
yes.
it looks like about $200,000, $203,000 actually.
And
Okay.
and behind in expenses.
Yes.
Right.
Well, it's a good year.
So just overall, on the first page, talking round numbers, what do you, now that we're finished December, where do you think we're going to come in at the end of the year?
It's really still early for us because, as I said earlier, we're trying to collect all the unpaid invoices. We have, each year, we do it's a payroll adjustment to accrue for any outstanding overtime and things like that. And in talking with our admin person, she may have that done in another week or two. It's all the overtime slips that come in.
Okay.
So there's a big accrual, liability accrual adjustment, and that can swing either to good or bad by $200,000. So to answer your question, aside from where we are in revenue, our goal on the expense side is coming on budget. So overall, we'll be under budget on our net expenses because
Based on the revenue.
the revenue is what it is. We're not going to see that getting
Right.
less. So
So if we're expecting expenses to come in more or less on line with budget, and we've got very strong revenue, then we should be to the good.
absolutely, yes, yes. So
Okay.
it's a good year for us again.
We'll look forward to the next report. Thanks.
Yes.
Okay, so on the motion to receive and file 8.05, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, nay. Motion carried. 8.06 is the PSCC November 2019 financial results. Any questions on that?
And that one's a little different.
Yeah,
Um,
so tell us about that one.
Sure. Revenue is pretty much on par because we have contractual revenue streams, so you'll see that we're just going to be slightly over budget on our target. With respect to the operating expenses, we do have some vacancies. You'll see on the salaries and wages, we're about $128,000 under budget, but our overtime this year is higher than we expected, only because we've had one employee for the entire year sick leave, so we had to backfill. And we're also backfilling vacancies that are not there yet. So if you look at the previous year, you'll see that we were about $27,000 at this time, same time of the year, under budget. That's just the year that we had in 2019 was covering shifts and overtime.
Is there quite a turnover in PSCC?
There's not quite a turnover. This year we had one person leave. As I said earlier, there was a person for the whole year on sick leave, and then we just had recently one employee go on maternity leave. And we can't run up and grab someone off the street, so we want to be an operator. We've got to train them and recruit them. So we're backfilling those vacant shifts as well, which again is an exception of the year. But we already have a recruitment underway now. Our recruitment cycle is almost every quarter now, trying to be an additional operator.
So by
So that's-
recruitment, we're hiring?
Well, we're certainly looking at filling that establishment, yes. Because all we're paying now is we're paying a premium to.
So we're hiring?
We're hiring.
We're hiring?
This is PSCC
You need
operating.
PSCC operators?
Yes.
So if you know anyone?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Are they bilingual positions?
They are
Yeah,
bilingual.
that's part of
That plus the training piece is what, it's a challenge for us, there's no doubt.
But this is a spot where we've got huge overtime. Part of it is because people who are full-time staff are doing extra shifts because we need a few staff.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
So we're probably short of 3 FTEs.
Really? What's the full staffing?
Our full staffing for operators is 20, 4 supervisors, and then we have 4 admin people, which include a couple of managers. So where we're vacant, obviously, would be on the operator side. Of that 20, we're probably around 17.
Okay.
And we have a couple of casuals that we hire, that have been with us for a long period of time, covering shifts. But our full complement for operators would be 20, so.
And we do dispatch services for Rossley?
We do it for Canada Cases, Regional Police, and Fire. There's 6 other fire departments, but we're also, as you know from previous meetings, we're embarking upon this huge regional fire dispatch initiative, which, just talking with the operations manager, Lois Gorman, we could take on by the end of 2020, 28 more fire departments. Now, they're smaller scale than St. John or Rossley or Canada Cases, but that'll generate some more revenue for us as well.
How long have we been at 20? Like that's the regular number?
That establishment number has been like that for probably about 10 years. We got close, and then something would happen that someone either maybe left the organization, or so we've always been around the 17, 18 number. Our goal is to get that 20, and it'll just stabilize not only the workforce, but the work-life balance that we're trying to achieve for our operators as well. Because working lots of overtime is not good long-term. They need the balance because it's a 24/7, 4-on, 4-off shift. It's a 12-hour shift, so that plays with people's life balance as well.
So could I get a motion to receive and file item 8.06, moved by Doug, seconded by Mike. On the motion, any further questions? All those in favor, aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Item 8.07 is the monthly activity report for December 2019. Chief?
Mr. Chair, I would just point out our calls of service for 2019 over 2018, we're up about 1,600 calls. Related to mental health files, we're up about 257 in 2019 over 2018, so about 1,625 files related to mental health. Significant amount of calls. And this is year over year that we see these
Keeps
increases.
increasing.
Yeah. And if there's any other questions, certainly. One other thing I would just note, if you want the last page, is auxiliary hours. That's about 2,580 hours, so that's about equivalent of a little better than a full-time equivalency of about 50 hours a week that we get from our auxiliary program. So it's significant. 2019 marked the 20th year of that program, so there's been a significant amount of hours that members of our community have given back to, not only auxiliary, but our victim services team have given back to their community and to their police force.
And that is great. Is there any ability to grow that, or would growing that not help? Would it be more of a hindrance? Is that sort of a sweet
Yeah.
spot, or do you want?
Yeah, so the analysis over the years for on the auxiliary program is that number where we get, we're right around 20-some members there, is a good number.
Yeah.
We over the next month or so, we will be going out to the public with regards to our victim services team to increase that number, but
Okay.
that announcement publicly will come in the next month or so.
Any further, Doug?
Yeah, just on, we've talked about the mental health demands for a while, but I'm just looking, the incidents don't always tell the whole story, because, we've had an increase in the number of tickets issued, for example, but those are 10 minutes each. Whereas the mental health calls, and that's, you take the two items in there together, and we're up 20%, but those are hours and hours each.
Yeah.
So
Significant drain on resources, and you're right, and those calls generally take 2 officers. So if it's, we could be at with one of these calls 3, we've been as long as 7 and 8 hours at times with some of these calls, and with 2 members, but we have that duty to care, so we have to be and remain with those folks at times. Other times, we have a good working relationship, obviously, with the hospital and mobile mental health, but there are times and situations that just require an extraordinary amount of time from our members to handle each and every one of those calls.
Thank you. Anything further on 8.07? I get a motion into receive and file 8.07, monthly activity report, moved by Mike, seconded by Doug. Any further on the question then? All those in favor, aye? Aye. Motion carried. Contrary, nay, motion carried. 8.08 is the long-term sickness report. Chief?
Mr. Chair, again, this is just for the information of the board. If there's any questions, we will please answer.
And you've broken it down by those individuals under the association and under local 486?
That's correct.
Okay.
just remind me, Chief, what's the total number of employees in the organization?
So we have 139 today that are part of the police association. Within the management group, there's 8. This is on the sworn side.
Yeah.
On the 486 side, and PSCC total would be around 46.
That's correct.
Around 46, yeah. Those numbers fluctuate a little.
Okay, so that's 193, and we got 19. So that's, we got 10% of the workforce off on some sort of sick leave or something. That's a lot. Okay.
Is that, has the force looked at that? Is that the nature of the business, Chief? Are those numbers, any idea of those numbers, have they maintained that over the years? Where have we typically been?
No, we certainly haven't benchmarked the police forces. We do know, just from talking to the police forces, we're having a whole host of issues with some of the things that we're talking about. But certainly the last couple of years, the number has gone up compared to other years. And as a result of that, what you'll see there is in the numbers, there's at least 10 individuals that we have in a light duty or duty to accommodate, which means they're here in the building, so they're not off sick. I guess I want to stress that they're here, but they're not doing 100% of their regular duties, whatever that may be. So us getting them back to work is a very positive thing, even though sometimes it takes a little bit of time, because you got to work with physicians and other people to get them back to work. So with that being said, I certainly would suggest to you that our managers and supervisors are working with these individuals. Our goal here is to get them back to regular duties, and unfortunately at times it takes much longer than we would like that to be, but we have to work closely with the physicians and sort of duty to care as well. So.
Sorry, just to follow up on that, I might have missed something. Is the light duty assignment people that are working as well, and the duty to accommodate?
That is correct, yes.
And are the duty to accommodate, is that permanent, or is that still a temporary thing with the goal of moving them?
It's
back?
on a case-by-case basis, Mike, because some may be that it's a gradual return to work back to regular full duties, and some may be a little longer depending on the nature of their illness or injury, I guess.
Are you getting all the resources you need to address this appropriately? Is there anything that the board should be doing differently to support you?
Well, one of the things we're actually going to explore in conjunction with having discussions with our association and unions is how can we collectively work together as a group and manage these better, because traditionally what happens, it's always on the employer to manage these files. So we're going to engage our unions to work closely with us. Not so much, we have a sick leave bank committee, that's separate and apart. This would be how can we work with the employees. And one of the things that we're going to be introducing in the next few weeks is we developed a business practice that will address all these sort of categories and let people know what the process is. I'm out on workers' comp, coming back to work. Here's how that's going to play out as far as your supervisor's responsibility and so on. So we're going to script that out so everyone knows what the role and responsibilities is, which is something we sort of did in the past, but not really a complete document. And that was an ask some time ago from the union as well, so we'll be receptive to that. So that's a good starting point for us.
Your worship.
Just a couple of questions, thank you. Maybe to you, Chief, or through to Marvin, the non-work related sick leave, for example, would we still have pay associated and obligation associated? Someone that's I guess first we want to understand non-related, so someone who wasn't on shift or wasn't working, who's been injured. I play hockey, I hurt myself hypothetically. Are we still paying those individuals?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
Okay. And is that normal? That's
always been the case. They would use their own personal sick leave credits, and if they were eligible due to the nature of their injury or illness, they could go into the sick leave bank as well.
Okay, so that's as per the collective agreement.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, and then I guess when I say normally, just from a so they would use sick leave, and then if they ran out of sick leave, then
That's correct.
That's it. Okay, thanks. And then the second question would be again to you, Chief, maybe through to Marvin. I just don't know how to direct the question. Is we've got December and November here. Does that mean no one is on long-term disability in the organization, or is that just for November and December?
Currently, right now, we have no one that's on the third-party long-term disability. So there's no one in that category.
Okay, so I'm not trying to pick apart the nuance of the words, but what does third? No, so that's the only mechanism for long-term disability.
Yes, if we had someone that, let's say, for instance, was out on non-work related sick leave.
Yeah.
After 6 months, if they're out that period of time, they must apply for long-term disability. So we have nobody in that queue, if I can use that terminology.
Okay.
And anyone that was on long-term disability have come back to work, and they now fall under this duty to accommodate.
Okay. So on any program, no one's on long-term disability right now.
That's correct.
Thank you. Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Anything further on item 8.08? I'll call for the motion then to receive and file. Moved by Micah, seconded by your worship. On the motion, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carries. Item 8.09 is the New Brunswick policing standards. And let's get to it. It's a letter from the chief. Chief, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is for the information of the board. This March 31st of 2020 that we have to provide a report to the province of New Brunswick. It goes to the minister, and it just outlines the number of things within our organization, our plan, our financial statements, etc., vacancies, retirements. That's outlined there. So we will have that done and have it to the board before it goes off to Fredericton as required.
Thank you. Any questions on 8.09? And this is an annual thing that you have to provide to
That's right. So the province has sent out a request at the end of last year that they're asking for this annual report.
By March 31st.
By March 31st.
Okay. fair
So is this a new annual report?
They used to do it in the past, but it's
They brought it back.
they brought it back. Yeah.
And then, sorry, I do have a
Yeah.
question, Mr. Chairman. Chief, does that result in a report of all of those that have provided? Is it a summary report, I guess is what I'm trying to ask?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Anything further? Doug?
Just a note, I look at the first bullet point, and it's referencing the multi-year strategic plan, and we had, it's important that we said it's important that the new chief be on board to
Yep.
work through the rest of that plan and bring it forward to us, so just
It will be on
wondering if
the
there-
agenda of the new chief.
Yeah.
So-
Come February
I guess
24th.
Yeah, so that'll be a continuation. As you recall, we brought the work plan for 2019 for the
Yeah.
task force to this board, and that'll be the continuation of the
Okay.
multi-year plan.
Fair enough.
and then we'll have a new one.
Until we develop a new one.
Okay, good.
Anything further? Being none, I'll ask for a motion then to receive and file 8.09. Michael, thank you. Doug? Sorry, Mike, seconded. On the motion, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Item 8.10 is an article or an email received from, an article that Your Worship asked to be added to the agenda, which we've done, entitled "How to Reform Police Forces to Lower Costs Study." Your Worship, did you want to?
Yeah, well, just, I guess I just wanted to provide it to everybody.
Yeah.
Again, this is a topic that is being discussed, I think, around the region, whether it be changes to industrial relations acts for arbitration, or just trying to come to grips with our highly respected members, coming to grips with costs and taxpayers' ability or affordability and so on. So just an article that I thought was interesting, and wanted the board to be able to peruse it as we continue to think about plans and ways forward in a sustainable way.
Perfect. Any questions on that? The motion then would be to receive and file it. Do I get a motion? Thank you, Mike. Move it. Seconder, Doug. On the motion, any questions? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Item 8.11, is the appointment of the executive for 2020. And just to announce that appointment, or the results, myself will be the chair, Doug Jones will be the vice chair, and the secretary will be Mike Costello. You gotta hate it when you look at somebody and you can't remember their last name in any event.
Long day.
And that in the context of the change for public and those around the table is Mr. McElroon advised at the last meeting that he will not be completing a full term for personal reasons and work reasons more so, and due to his busy schedule. So in any event, that's the executive for 2020 of the St. John Board of Police Commissioners. Item 8.
So, Mr. Chair, just procedurally, do we need a motion just to?
Yes, we do.
So I'll make that motion to ratify that. We'll make that
Thank you
motion
very
to
much.
ratify that executive for 2020.
And seconder on that motion, Mike. On the motion, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. We almost got out of it.
I didn't want you thrown out on a technicality.
Item 8.12 was added to the agenda, and that's the letter received by the Commission from yourself, Your Worship, on today's date, entitled Budgetary Adjustment for the St. John Police Force, where the motion that will require the full force to follow through with workforce adjustments and personnel policy changes to reduce the budget for 2021 of $1.175 million. Obviously, I would suggest, and depending on what the Commission's thoughts are, that the motion or the letter should be referred to the Chief to deal with and come up with some with the plan for 2021. Obviously, he needs to start taking action, in the near future, and consultations with with the force and with the commission as to where they're going to see the savings that are being asked by Common Council regarding the reduction in our budget for 2021 of $1.175 million. Questions, comments before we pass the motion or make a motion to move this to the chief for consideration?
I guess the only comment I would make is I'm glad we have this now, it's January.
I do, I agree.
It's very different from getting it, at budget time this year. We get it in November and have to make changes for January. So
Yeah.
this is a proper procedure to let us plan, and I think it's proper for the chief to look at it, and the new chief to look at it, and we put the plans in place so that you don't want to go from December 31st and then the next day suddenly we have $1.1 million less going on. So I think it's prudent that we start looking at it now.
When it gives the chief enough time to make sure that whatever plan is set in place is sustainable, makes sense, still gives the service that we need, and it's not just, something that's being cut offside.
Right.
Your worship.
Yeah, just a couple of comments, thanks. I echo my colleague from down the hill on that. Not easy, but necessary is the way I would describe it. And I just would highlight a couple of things. One is, again, sort of in council's decision, the $10 million deficit, 50% of which would be dealt with through our personnel costs. So this is sort of an allocation of that, if you will. And I just highlight in the second page, I just highlighted myself. There's a range, and again, not limiting the chief in any way, but there was a range of items highlighted: wage freezes, natural attrition, severance payments, possible voluntary departure incentives, efficiency initiatives, civilianization. So there's a whole range of ideas. How applicable, the chief will comment back, but wanted to make sure that this letter got here in a timely fashion.
Anything further, Doug?
Yeah, just one other thing, I guess, to the worship and members of council with your other hat on. Just also recognizing that I think we appreciate the approach here, because we did get the heads up, a while ago, and so our new chief is coming in eyes wide open, knew what to expect from day one. So it's not where, being out on the search committee, I'd be feeling kind of bad if we said, oh, you're hired, and then 1 week afterwards, oh, by the way, here's find an extra $1 million, but he knows what he's jumping into. So.
And while we didn't have the exact number, we certainly knew from the media and through the reports coming out of council that it was going to be a significant number. And
Sorry, one quick follow-up, and thanks for that confirmation, Doug, because again, I think that's really important. With our current city manager, we probably went a bit overboard in preparing binders and briefing books to say, hey, this is the pluses and these are the challenges that we have. I will also add that I did have a discussion with the city manager that the head of the union was also made aware that these are the challenges that we face, and that council had made a directive to have 50% of the entirety of the deficit dealt with through workforce, and that was my understanding before Christmas. So that did happen as well, just so the board knows.
fair enough. Thank you, Your Worship. Anything further? Then we'll, could I get a motion to
Refer it to the chief.
refer to the chief? Thank you very much. Motion by Doug, second by Micah. On the motion, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. And ladies and gentlemen, that's all the items we have on the agenda for open session. Motion to adjourn. Thank you. Moved by Mike, seconded by Doug.